Power Tutorial! Hi, I'm not gonna be shouting much on this one because it's gonna be long. Okay, without further ado, watch it, man. Good morning, good merry morning, hello, 1, 2, check, check, check. This is, it's not Royal Blood, it's me, it's Steve, from Thunder the Covers. Listen to this. You wanna get that sound? You wanna sound like that? Well, guess what, baby? I'm gonna show you how. Now, what you're gonna need for this tutorial... I'm not American, I'm gonna try and stick with English. This, I use Logic Pro X, and it's very cheap and you can get it and it's very good for the money. So, in this tutorial I'm actually bypassing all of my usual audio interfaces and I'm going straight into the computer because I kind of realized that in order to make this video, I needed another interface, but I don't have one. So I'm literally... The way I've built this sound is totally through Logic's own plugins. I haven't used any external ones aside from I used one on the mastering chain just to kind of crunch it all together, which I probably shouldn't have done. But yeah, you get the point. I'll take that off while I'm tutorializing. If you have Logic X, you can make this sound by plugging a bass guitar directly into the microphone input on the back of the computer, because that's what I've done here today. My bass guitar, well mine, is going on cable. You can't see on here, but it's going round to the back of the computer straight into the microphone input. And I'm just going to show you exactly what I've done and how to make it. So, let's do this thing. Okay. So, basically, this channel right here, this is the input channel. I'll explain exactly what I've done everywhere because you're going to have to basically replicate this to make it sound exactly as I have. Ignore these first channels. That was they're the drum and percussion channels that I put together just for that little intro-y bit. So all that's on is this one with the R logo, and that's the bass guitar input. And what I've done using the auxiliary bus sends, I've split it into two channels basically. So I actually turned the output of the channel off, and this is kind of important because if you leave that on you will hear the actual regular bass coming through. If I mute everything, you hear that? You can hear that too, and that's no good. So I turn that off, turn the output off, because you literally just want your other channels. So yeah, so I tried to keep it as simple as possible. So I've used bus 1 and bus 2. So bus 1 I've turned into the bass bus, and bus 2 I've turned into the guitar bus. Because what the guy from Royal Blood does is he splits his bass signal and octave shifts one channel up and leaves one regular, and that's how he gets his sort of guitar and bass sound at the same time. So bus 1, as I said, is the bass channel, and that goes into here, and I'll go through all the effects on there once I've kind of gone over this bit. Bus 2 goes into the guitar channel, which is this one here, as you can see, bus 2 there. So if I mute the bass, you'll hear the guitar on its own. So this is the guitar channel. And I've done a little bit of sorcery on that to make it sound wide, because if I take this off, this is how it will sound normally. This is sort of central. Also, if you're listening to this straight out of like a mobile device speaker which is usually a mono, you won't get any of this that I'm saying. Also, why are you listening on like an iPhone speaker? Because there's no way you're gonna hear what I'm actually doing. Put some headphones on, man. So yeah, it goes into this guitar channel here, and then I've actually split the signal out of the guitar channel again. Well, I've sent it on a bus to a reverb and also to another channel which I've also set as guitar, which is how I've got the guitars to sound kind of stereo. If you listen now. So you hear that? That's kind of stereo. If I turn this off and on, you'll hear mono, stereo, mono, and it's kind of sorcery how I've done that. It's sort of an old trick of the trade, apparently, as I heard the other day. So yeah, so it splits into a bass channel and a guitar channel, and so now I will go through exactly what is going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn everything off so that I can explain it. Starting with the first channel, actually, what I've done here, I've got a gate on because I'm using the direct into the computer. I'll just turn these back on a sec. Basically, there's a lot of noise on the track, so if I take this off, you'll hear the bass noise. You hear that? That's what you get, and you can hear my voice through the hello. So you can hear a lot through there. So this is the only, I might have told a pork pie at the beginning, this is the only plugin which is not Logic's own. Ooh, that was fun. It's not one of Logic's own because I can't really get along too well with Logic's own gate, but if you're using an audio interface, the noise should be much less anyway. That was how I intended to do this, but I didn't have enough. I couldn't do it, basically, with the way I've got everything set up. So I would highly recommend putting a gate on there. In fact, maybe I should just put a Logic one on just to show you what you need to do. Noise gate, there. They always call it something. Yeah, you can hear that. This gate is pretty extreme. Cuts off very quickly, so I just take the release up anyway. Take the attack up a bit as well. Should probably take the threshold up as well. Oh, that's not too bad. That's pretty good, actually. What you will notice if you set this up, by the way, and you're running it exactly as I have, is there is a tiny amount of latency which could be deemed sort of a problem, which is why it's kind of better to do this with a guitar pedal splitting the signal properly rather than doing it in the computer, because every time you create a new channel and sort of split it again, it's adding latency, and if you wanted to play straight into the computer, then I mean, you'll get by. As you can tell, I can get by with it. It's a little bit weird to get used to because like the guitar channels basically are slightly more delayed than the bass channels, which is odd, but you get, like I say, you'll get used to it. And obviously this is only just so that you can sit there playing Royal Blood to yourself, which I've been doing for basically the past like 2 days. I guess that's another thing to say as well is he also uses another pedal live to cut out the bass channel or the guitar channel depending on what he wants to do. So in for example, in that passage that I just played there where he goes, he's actually turning the bass off and on during that riff. So he kind of goes, he does the first part as, then he turns the bass off, and I'll show you. So he goes, then he turns it back on and goes, then he turns it off and goes, then he turns it off. So that's how he's getting this sort of difference in the bass cutting in and out. And the way I've got this set up means that when you mute one channel, the other channels continue to play. So you've got your bass guitar going in. Okay, cool. We got that far. We got our noise gate on. Actually, I put an EQ on because the microphone input. This isn't a built-in Logic one. But the microphone input that I'm using kind of sounds a bit gash on its own. So basically, I boosted a bit of the torque. So I noticed when I brought this open with the bass going straight into the back, it's not as shiny. It kind of sounds a bit muffled when I play it. That just adds on a little bit of the quality that kind of missing without it. Okay, so yeah, I'll mute everything off again, and we'll start from scratch, and I'll show you what's going on. So you got your channel base. Well, you got your bus one. So obviously, if you click on one of these, you can go to bus, and you select bus. It won't be labeled like that when you do it. It'll just go to something. So the first plugin in the line of the bass is this pedal board, and this is set up in a very particular way, because you don't want to have your signal just entirely distorted, because I'll demonstrate. So first in the chain anyway is a squash compressor. And that is on the whole signal in. You see this whole thing here is like split. Then I'm going into the monster fuzz and then the graphic EQ and mixer to mix the two levels together. So if I play with this on, you'll hear when I turn this up and down, it mixes from the clean signal to the regular signal to the distorted signal. So yeah, let's just demonstrate how it sounds on its own. So that's the bass going straight in. Put the squash compressor on, which these are all built-in Logic ones, which are across here. So in fact, so yeah, the squash compressor is right at the bottom there, and I don't think I changed much. But I mean, if you kind of look at my screen and copy yours to be to be exactly the same, then it should sound exactly the same. I mean, depending on what kind of bass guitar you got, that's going to be the only factor. So, yeah. So put that on. Set your sustain to like 5 to 12, and your level on full, I guess. Yeah. Oh, in fact, if I click, I can show you. So that's at minus 23.5 dBs, and the level is at 10. I've got a bit of a setting on the bass on the knobs down here as well, but won't worry too much about that. So yeah, you got your squash compressor going into the monster fuzz. So monster fuzz is this little jobby here. So I think I just, as you can see, everything is basically on 12 o'clock. So I just put it in. I really like this plugin on bass. I use this quite a lot. I think I use that on the maybe on the rope bass video that we've done. Well, not the bass video, I mean the cover. I used the monster fuzz, I think, or maybe the fuzz machine over here. But anyway, so I just, that is just on as it comes out default. So turn that on, sound like that. The graphic EQ is next in chain, and if I just point your attention to up here, the signal comes in here, where the mouse is, that's where the bass is coming in, it's going through the compressor, then it's been split here, and it's going up to the graphic EQ, and it's going across to the fuzz, and then they're both mixed together in this little mixer one. So once you've brought a once you've brought a pedal in, you can basically grab it here and move it from top to bottom or where. Oh, goodness me. Oh, don't do that. No. Oh, I don't know what I've done, but I've done it. Okay, well, I removed the compressor. Let's not do that. So put that back in there. Minus 23.5, I think it was, and then 4. Right. So, yeah. Oh, that's another thing. You need to make sure when you bring things in, so that wants to be... There we go. So the squash compressor wants to split after that into the graphic EQ and then the fuzz. So they're on separate leads, I guess. Because that's kind of like plugging a cable in. Anyway, I'll try not to waffle here. Graphic EQ, I've got that just bringing out some of the low end and a tiny bit of the top on the dry bass signals. So if I push this up to here, that's the dry, well, the signal coming from the compressor there. So if I turn the EQ off, you'll hear the difference. It's subtle, but it's bringing in some of the low end that you kind of lose when the fuzz is on. So if I put it back to where it was, I think it was around there. If you listen, when it's kind of very bassy there, and when you put the monster fuzz on, suddenly the low end you kind of lose it. So the graphic EQ, it puts some of that low end back in there on the dry channel, and then it's mixed together here. So I don't know what it originally was on, but I think 63 seems about right there. So that's the pedal setup on there. So I'll close that down. Next in the chain, I've got a bass amp because I mean that it just adds a little bit of nicey. So the bass amp that I'm using is actually one of the legacy ones. I'm not too keen on Logic's amp sim. I've played with it a bit, but like I've got real amps down here in the corner, so I tend to use the real deal. But now and then I will use a built-in thing. The way to find this bass amp in your plugins, you have to hold the Alt key, and then you click, and you'll see when you hold the Alt key, you get this legacy menu, which is like, I don't know why they've made this, because this is basically all the plugins I ever use from Logic. So there's Bass Amp, Guitar Amp Pro, which is like literally my sound, and then Silver Compressor, which I use a lot. So yeah, you open it there, so it's that one. I've already got it open, and I've got it set to Deep Bass Amp. So if I turn that on, you'll notice the difference as well. There we go. It sounds less like a dry bass signal, which it does now. And it's more like an actual bass guitar. I think the latency is actually getting worse and worse the longer this goes on. Anyway, so yeah, I've got that going. I'll leave those settings on screen. So pre-gain is at 7, bass is at 5, mid is at 7.8, mid frequency is blah blah blah. I mean, you can see it. Just try and duplicate that as best you can. So yeah, that's that on. Then next up, I've got the Silver Compressor, and that's one of those legacy ones. So you have to hold the Alt key, tap, go down to Legacy, open the Silver Compressor, and the settings that I've got on there is I kind of like this slow attack thing. It's like a sort of similar release as well, I guess. So if you try and just just duplicate this as best you can, and I'll play the difference. So this is with the compressor on and off. When you're getting that, suddenly it just yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna leave the master. This probably looks a bit mental, but this is a plugin that I'm trialing at the minute. I'm probably gonna buy. But that's a multiband compressor on the final output that just kind of gels everything together. But I'll leave it on since it's been on now. Maybe I should take it off actually. If I take it off, you'll get it more how it'll sound to you. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll keep that off. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that off. So this is with our compressor on. It sounds like that, and you can hear it kind of pumping because you can see that. I was gonna call them LEDs, but you can see that signal going down there. So yeah, this is a really simple setup compressor. There's no gain, or there's no kind of makeup gain on it. So as you bring the threshold down, it automatically brings the gain up, and same with the ratio. When you push the ratio higher, the gain output is adjusted accordingly. So it's very simple to use, and I really like it. I don't know why they've put it in a menu that you can't find. Cause when I first got Logic 10, I was kind of really annoyed. I thought they'd taken it out altogether, so I was kind of annoying. And then last but not least, I put a little EQ on there as well. And what's that for, you say? Well, it's just taking out a little bit. It's not doing much. It's really not doing much at all. But it's I've used much to my dismay, I've used the Logic's own built-in EQ, which I'm really not a fan of. So 192 hertz, minus 3.5 dB and 3.2 Q factor. And it probably, actually, I don't think it makes much difference at all, but I can tell. Also, I seem to have taken the gain down by a little bit after that as well for some reason. I can't think why. I mean, I think I built this 2 days ago and I've been playing with it since. So yeah, that's the whole bass channel, and that's the simple part, I guess. So next up is bus 2. So again, as I said before, this is our bass channel here. For some reason, I got it set as shaker at the top. It's annoying. So to bus 2, sent out, and these want to be set to post pan. If you hold down on your menu there, they're both set to post pan, and this is kind of important because the other bus sends are set up differently. So yeah, we're going into the guitar channel next. So I'll mute the bass channel, and you'll notice. Why can I can hear that because that's why I can hear that because I've turned everything off. So you'll notice again, I'm muting everything by the auxiliary buses, not by the actual channel itself. Because if I mute the channel, it's going to cut everything. So I mute the bus channel that I made, and also I called it bass and I coloured it appropriately. Yellow is my colour for bass and green is my colour for guitar. So try and keep things coloured and organised and labelled properly, otherwise it becomes a nightmare. And also I did this all especially for you guys. I mean, I kept this real simple. I used bus 1, 2 and 3. I had to faff around setting things up properly because I ended up originally using like bus 3 and bus 7, and they were dotted all over the place. I thought no one's ever going to understand this, so yeah, I'll mute the bass channel. So here's the guitar channel. So the first thing you want to do is open a pitch shifter. Now I don't like to use Logic's pitch shifter. In Logic 10, it seems to add loads of latency. There's some real latency problems. If you put that pitch shifter on, you'll notice it'll be delayed by a considerable amount. So I wouldn't use that pitch shifter. I would go into audio units, and if you've never used this Apple menu here of audio units, you need to, because these are infinitely better than Logic's built-in ones. Aside from the few that I do use and kind of highly recommend. So yeah, it's this one here, the AU pitch. I would put that on, and you'll hear the difference. In fact, I might have, right. We're on minus 11.6. What I'm also going to do, I'm going to mute that one as well. So I'm going to put that in the center as well. So that's probably confusing. So minus 11.6, and you just go left. So I turn that up. Okay. So the first thing you want to do with the guitar sound is pitch shift it up. So I've got the AU pitch open here, and it's shifted up by an octave. I set everything on. I keep everything as it is except the pitch. So you want to put it to 1,200 cents. I guess it says there, or it's either 1.2 or something. It's not very clear. But that basically, when you turn that on, it goes up by an octave. You hear that? And it is getting quite delayed now. It's gonna go slowly out of sync as well because I'm filming, I'm recording, and doing all kinds of stuff all at once. So the longer this progresses on, it's probably gonna get quite delayed. But it shouldn't be an issue for you. It's more of an issue for me playing it. So once that's on, you open up Guitar Amp Pro, which is my favorite plugin really of Logic. So it's in the legacy menu again, so you're gonna have to press Alt and go to legacy. What I'll do is I'll just show you again. So hold Alt, go down to Legacy, and then it's Guitar Amp Pro there. And I've got this set up. If I turn that on, is it going to be loud? There we go. So the first thing I do is change the amp style. So I've gone to British gain. That seemed to tickle my fancy. I've got the bass is at 8.2 gain. Well, I'll start with gain. Gain is at 7.7. Bass is at 8.2. Mids are at 6.8. Treble is at 4.7. Presence is at 2.7. Master is at 2.6. And you don't want to turn any of the effects on either. I've got the amp, the microphone placement as centered, and I've gone to condenser rather than dynamic. I don't really know why I picked all these things, but yeah. And I went for a 4x12 closed cab for some reason. Seem to have stuck with that, and it sounds pretty good. Yeah. Actually, the way you'll probably hear it if I turn those off, you'll hear it dry because I've got that run to a reverb as well. So if I just play that again, yours will sound like that. So we haven't got as far as putting a reverb on and etc. So yeah. And last but not least, I got Silver Compressor again. So it's basically the very similar settings to the bass guitar. If you try and duplicate these as best you can, -15, 19.5 for the attack, 65 for the release, 3:1 for the ratio. Turn that on, you'll notice the difference. There we go, now we're pumping. And if I play that, if I unmute the bass channel with that as well, you're gonna... So we're starting to get there, really, with the sound. I mean, that basically is the sound. What I've got after that is just kind of spices it up a little bit and will be orally exciting. Orally exciting? I don't think that's the right word. So the other parts... that's basically the sound that he has. Everything else that I've added on here is just for a little bit of extra excitement in the ear canals, I guess. A bit of stereo enhancement, if you will. So what you can do from here, I've got this sent to bus 3, so currently you should have like 3 channels. There should be input, whatever your bass is on. Your bass channel being split into your bass effects channel and then your guitar effects channel, and then you want to open bus 3, which ought to be your guitar split. Well, not your guitar, not the guitar split. It's like the guitar stereo channel. And there's other ways to make it stereo, but I kind of like this way recently. So what you want to do, if I turn that on, and unmute that. Oh, goodness. Oh, that's getting loud. So what I'm going to do now, because there's 2 channels basically on doing the exact same thing, almost, I'm going to take that down to where it was, which I believe was 11.2, I'm going to say. There we go, that sounds about right. So when you open this plugin, you need to make sure that it's post-fader. That's quite important, otherwise it won't work properly. It doesn't want to be post-pan, because if it's post-pan, it's going to mess up how it sends and how it plays out. So what you then want to do, what I've done is you want to turn one side all the way to the left and one side all the way to the right. And all that'll basically do is, for now, is make it sound quiet. It should sound like the bass is still central, because nothing's really changed. Both sides are identical, so it shouldn't sound any different. But then I've got a sample delay, which basically it delays one side of the guitars, and it makes it sound, it gives it that kind of wide feel. So if I activate this, you'll hear the difference. You hear that? Suddenly it sounds like there's almost like there's 2 guitar tracks. And again, if you're listening to this on a mono source, such as out of an iPhone speaker or a handheld device, you're probably not going to notice the stereo effect here. The reason I've got this one turned up to +1 as well is that the channel that will appear the loudest is the one that hits your eardrum first, and basically this channel will hit your eardrum first, this channel will hit your eardrum second, which makes this one sound quieter for some reason, or something like that. That's how it happens. So that's why this one is at minus 11.2 and this one is at +1, is because it's kind of compensating for that. So after that, all I've got as well is a channel EQ just to bring out some of the high on the right-hand side, and it kind of spaces it a bit, which is kind of nice. So if I turn that on, you'll hear it. I'm going to turn off the sample delay as well. Oh, by the way, the sample delay is down in delay and then sample delay, and I'll show you the settings for that. So it wants to be at, I've got it set at 500 samples, and you want to take the left and right link. So you'll find when you type in one box with the left and right link on, the other box will just copy whatever you do with it. So that's it. And then the channel EQ got a boost of 6 at 1660 hertz. The Q factor of 1.4. When I turn it on, you'll hear the difference. And because that's in the right hand side, you actually feel the signal shift over to the right a little. So that's creating some slight stereo effect there. Oh, I've got the bass still on. I'll turn the bass off. There we go. And currently I haven't got the sample delay on, but when I turn that on, you'll notice the difference. So. Yeah, it's starting to get really delayed from my playing now. So I'll try to play as best I can, but that's just what happens when you're recording. So yeah, that's basically the guitar sound. And then, also I need to turn it off. So this is the dry guitar sound as well. My plane's going all over the place now. So the last thing you want to do is open up bus 4 on your first guitar channel, which I've named GL, which is short for guitar left, and then there's GR, which is guitar right. So on GL, open up bus 4. So bus 4 there, and this wants to be on post pan setting. So if I activate that, you're going to hear a very tight reverb. I'll turn it off and on so you can hear it. It's very low in the mix, but it kind of makes everything sit back a little bit. And what I've got, so once you've got that bus 4 open, I've got another sample delay on there, which kind of delays off the reverb a little bit and kind of makes it sound like it does. So the reverb I've used is not one of Logic's because they're horrendous. So I go down to audio units, and I've used the AU Matrix reverb, which I used to use a lot before I had started buying third-party plugins, which I can highly recommend you go around and try out some plugins by companies. I would highly recommend trying out this company's stuff called Fabfilter. Their stuff is really cool. So, I mean, there's quite a lot of parameters on this. So if you just, I'll leave this on screen a little. So if you could just duplicate that as best you can, because, yeah, if you want it to sound like how I've got it, then this is the settings. I don't want to go through all of this because it seems like a whole load of settings that I'm not even bothered. Like, I know how they all work now, but I can only imagine for someone who doesn't understand Reverb plugins, it could be quite daunting. So I'll turn it off. Well, I haven't turned it off, I just closed box. So that's been sent out, and I've got that set at -14 because you don't want loads of it. And then for some reason, I've also turned it down on there, so it's at -1.3 on the fader. Oh, I just noticed I haven't coloured my plugin. No, the colour I use for reverbs and such is light blue. So there we go. I feel much better now. I hate that disgusting yellow sick colour that comes up. It's like gold, like goldy sick, goldy greeny sick. So yeah, last but certainly not least, you want to put the guitar right to that reverb as well. Also, when you open this channel, make sure that you have it set to stereo. So if you press on that box, I don't want to do it now because sometimes when you've got things already on the channel, it can mess up the session. So I'm not going to do that when I've got this far through. So basically, if you press that until it'll start out like this, like a circle like that. When you press it, it goes to 2 circles. That means it's stereo. And you'll see when I make a noise here, there's 2 channels, whereas one of the ones with 1 circle, there's only 1 line of audio going up it. So you want to activate bus 4 on there as well, and that's post pan as well. So then that is basically your sound, and if I play it to you again a little bit, here we go. So yeah, that's basically it, how you get the sound. And then all I've done is I put this multiband compressor on the end that just tightens it up a little bit. If I turn that on, it kind of gets louder as well. So you can have hours and hours and hours of fun playing around with that. So I hope that that's good for you. I mean, it's really enjoyable. Like I say, I've been playing around with this for the past like 2 days. And what I'm going to also do is do a video of how you can do this with actual guitar amps, because I find it much easier. Also, you can set up the guitar amp. Well, you can set up a pedal so that you can cut out the bass channel or cut out the guitar channel so that you can do all that stuff exactly as he does live. So if you like this, well, maybe you should subscribe, maybe you should give it a like, give it a thumbs up, give it a lick, give it a comment. Tell me how rubbish I am, tell me how much I waffle, tell me off, tell me good things, tell me bad things, tell me good things, tell me bad things, tell me tell me good things about me. This has been Steve of Thunder the Covers. I'm going to play you out with the intro again. I guess, why not? And in case you can't tell, I think we might cover this soon, properly. But who knows? Let's see. Here we go.